My daughter Julian and I were taking a drive, and I stopped by to check on an empty property that I was making an offer on. And
what does making an offer on mean?
Well, I was in the process of buying it.
What does that mean? What part of the process were you in?
To where I've made the offer, and I was waiting for the word for it to be closed.
Okay.
So I would go by the property periodically to check and make sure that nobody was vandalizing it.
Because it was abandoned?
Correct.
All right, go on.
So as I got to the property, I went into the backyard and went to the sliding glass door, and I noticed that on a previous day it was locked. I noticed it opened right up this time. So I went in, and then I had my daughter wait because I wasn't sure why it was open. So I went to the staircase, and I could hear giggling upstairs. So I went upstairs and saw the defendant and another girl with spoons in their hands slinging paint all over the walls.
With spoons slinging paint all over the walls?
Yes.
What kind of paint?
Pink paint.
Pink paint.
Yes.
Okay. What'd you do?
I started to scream quite loudly.
And what'd they do?
They turned around and looked at me and said it wasn't our fault. And
what'd they say? Tell me what they said.
Okay, well,
it's like pulling teeth. I'm dying to know. What did they say? In a minute, I'll be with her.
Right.
But I got to go to you first because I need to hear your story. Tell me what they said. I mean, you caught them red-handed vandalizing the place. So what'd they say?
At first, they said that they were held at knife point by a couple other girls, and that they were forced into this house.
Invisible girls?
Yeah.
Right, and then?
Well, right before I came in, the girls snuck out the back door is what they told me, so.
You think this is funny? No. She's 12 or how old are you?
13.
13. So if she laughs, I've got to give her like a little immature pass, but I don't know about you, Mom. Go ahead.
While this guy struggles to get his story out, these two over here are just laughing their butts off. And to be honest with you, that is incriminating to me. You got Miss Stripes here, who has quite literally a smile on her face as he's sharing this testimony, which leads me to believe that she is in fact guilty. And now Mom over here is laughing with her. And there is nothing funny about what the testimony is so far. The funny thing is that these girls who are 13 thought it was a good idea to break in and enter into a home and sling paint with spoons. I don't know who uses spoons, but maybe they're artistes. But let's keep watching, guys. What do you think so far?
So, yeah, they were telling me that they were held at knife point and that they were made to open up the cans of paint. And,
right, and then?
Well, I told them that I'm going to call the police, and if they're going to stick to that story, the police are probably going to tear apart their school looking for the people that held them at knife point.
And
they stuck to the story. They said,
so did you call the police?
I did call the police.
And the police come and question them?
They did.
Did they call the parents?
I called the parents.
How'd you know who the parents were? You asked the girls, give me your parents' names, I'm calling them?
Yes, and it turned out my daughter went to school with the both of them, so.
Your daughter attends the same school that they attend?
Yes.
Oh, I just can't wait.
Yeah.
What happened?
She wanted to go look
Who's she?
My old friend. I'm not friends with her. The friend I was with, she was going to look at houses, and so we were just looking.
She was going to look at houses for what?
Because her parents wanted to buy a house, and so she just wanted to look around, and we were looking through the windows.
You know how that's always happening, how 13-year-olds go house scouting for their parents?
You see that all the time?
All the time. All the time. In fact, that's why I had kids, so they would scout ahead for me. Go on.
And then she wanted to kick down and see the inside.
Kick down what?
The doggy door. And then she kicked, and then...
So in her search for real estate, she kicked down the doggy door. And you had no idea you were vandalizing a house and breaking in, because that's actually breaking and entering. You understand that? That's a burglary. It's a felony. So go on.
And then I followed, and then she went in there, and I was like not thinking, and I went in after her. And then I was downstairs, and then she went upstairs. She found the paint. We opened it, and then I was upstairs, and she was splattering the paint on the walls. And she did most of it, and then
Did you do any of it, Sweet Pea?
Just a little bit, yes.
Just a little bit? Just a little vandalism. What's that among friends? Let me ask you a question. When you're with your 13-year-old friend and she says, let's break into this house, do you stop? Do you have a cell phone?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. Do you stop and call your mom? No. Do you stop and call 911? No. You actually go in the doggy door and break in with her. When she goes upstairs and finds the paint, do you stop and say, we can't do this? Do you stop and call your mom? No, you open the paint with her. When she opens up the can, so please stop minimizing your role, because you are every bit as guilty as she is. Every bit as guilty in the eyes of the law when two people get together, Mom, because I saw your answer to the complaint. Oh, she only had a little paint on her. My daughter only had a little paint on her. What does that mean?
And she did it. I mean, I'm not going to say she wasn't part of it.
So, based on this so far, Judge Millian is quite literally ripping this young girl a new one. And it's quite, I don't know, it's quite a sight to see. But in this situation, you have to admit, this mother right here quite literally is the problem.
And
Because yes, when you look at a young kid, they do stupid things, they make mistakes, they're kind of goofballs and make bozo moves, and they aren't thinking. And they get themselves into trouble. But really, when it comes down to it, in this situation, Mama here is not doing her daughter any good by trying to minimize her role in quite literally breaking and entering into a home.
and
I would 100% agree with the tone that Judge Millian has here, because this young girl quite literally could be facing intense stuff for what she's done. I want to know what you guys think so far. Do you think she's going to get off easy, or do you think she's going to get a pretty harsh sentencing? What do you guys think so far?
You're not going to say that?
I've never said she was not part of it. But compared to how much paint the other girl
My
had
daughter
on her,
was, okay, go ahead. Tell me, explain, because I do want to understand that sentence.
Compared to how much paint the other girl had on her compared to my daughter, you can tell who was spattering the paint and who was not. Because the other girl was taking the paint and doing this to the walls.
Maybe your daughter's just a bad aim and getting all the paint on her friend. And maybe her friend's a better aim. Do you ever think of that? You know what? But that's not the point, Mom.
I know the point.
It doesn't. No, I'm not sure you do. I'm not sure you do. Because if my child was responsible for something like this, you better believe she's getting a paper route. You better believe that it's going to come out of her hide. Okay? It's doable. The amount of damage, the monetary amount that he asked both families for, because the other family paid,
yes,
right? The monetary amount he asked both families for is not astronomical. I know it's a big amount, but it's something that she should, if you really want to teach your kid a lesson, you make her work for that money to be able to pay this back. That's what a good mom does, okay? This is unforgivable. It's unforgivable because if she's on this path at this tender age, it can only get worse. Where do you think it's going?
That's the only issue she's ever had. She's a straight A-B student. I mean, I've never had any issues with her. She wants to be a lawyer. She wants to do this, so I let her know.
Did you call the police? Did the police arrest her?
Yeah, they arrested her.
Okay,
And
let me just tell you right now so that you understand, this is going to follow you. Even though you're a juvenile, it's going to follow you. Because when you apply to law school, they're going to ask you all kinds of questions that you don't have to legally answer somewhere else. But if it's a private institution you're applying to, they could ask you whatever the heck they want. And you're going to have to explain this. This breach in character. You get it?
So this young girl here doesn't seem to be caring too much. I mean, she either has a really good poker face or she has absolutely zero emotions whatsoever. I think that this guy is actually being pretty sweet because he's not asking for crazy amounts of money, and quite literally, these girls broke and enter and they're getting off pretty good if she's not going to have to go to jail for it. Now, I think what would have been a better situation is if he had them come and repaint and do the work themselves, or perhaps get hire somebody to come in and do it. I don't know. But what's really interesting is that this mother is deciding to just go full force, doubling down on this situation. I'm sorry, Mom. that you are making a huge astronomical mistake, because what this child does in this stage of her life can quite literally follow her and cause many issues in the future for her. I know many people who made mistakes when they were younger, and then they started to grow up and mature, and they suddenly wanted to be a police officer or they wanted to be a doctor. And the choices they made and the mistakes they made that they got caught for ended up keeping them from reaching the goals and dreams and aspirations that they wanted. This is why it's really important for children to have parents who quite literally want to give them the best opportunity by actually giving them, consequences. But what do you guys think so far?
Show me the damages. And let's now talk about another issue, which is that you hadn't closed on the house at that point. I can't pretend that's not present here.
Correct.
Correct. So the damage gets done, and what do you do with the bank? Do you have an assignment to sue? In other words, okay, I know you're not a lawyer.
Right.
Okay, but listen to me. This happened at a time when you weren't the owner yet. You're the owner now, and you got to eat it. Okay? But you kind of need the right to sue from the people who were the owners at the time. You didn't get that?
No.
Okay, well, because I believe in justice, and I believe that there should be a result in this case rather than, you know what I mean? I don't want to send you guys home, dismiss the case against you, then you get the assignment, and then you're all in court again. You don't want to be in court again, right? You want this over with today. All right, so I'm going to give you time to get the assignment from the bank.
Okay.
And let me see the damages, because you can't, what you're entitled to is to be made whole, not to redecorate the place, and not to,
Thanks, sir.
let's see. Good Lord. Were you scared when you got caught? I just want to know that you were scared into never doing anything like this again. That's all I need to know.
Yes.
Because the shame that you should feel that your mother has to be here.
She got in a lot of trouble. I've never had any issues with her, so this was just one thing that just totally. She normally goes out for a walk, and goes for a walk and everything, and never had any issues.
Here's the problem, though.
It was a girl.
The problem is you're being sued also, and you're from California. And in California, there is a specific law making parents responsible for any paint damage their children do. Like an anti-graffiti law.
Exactly.
Because they want to know. So there's something special in your state that puts you on the hook as well.
I never once said that she was innocent.
Well, I am. There's pink paint all over the shower doors. Did this stuff come? I assume that this with cleaning came out on the glass.
It was a lot easier than the floor, yes.
Yeah.
Which I also offered part of the cleaning, helping, stuff like that to both families. And I was unable to reach anybody to really help.
What do you mean
that.
we're not able to reach? I think that would be a marvelous idea, just like that NFL player over in where all those children vandalized his place, and he said, all right, everybody, come one, come all, purge your souls. Purge your souls and come. I kind of think he was maybe trying to get the names of all the kids that were there, but still, purge your souls. I'd make my kid be front and center there cleaning that day.
And I did leave it.
Why did you do this? Why did you do this? Why? What was the, I don't even see what the fun would be in this.
It wasn't fun at all. I just wasn't thinking that day.
I would feel so bad every time I realized now they got to paint the door. Now they got to paint the walls. Now they got to change the floors. Now they got to, I would just think, there's somebody out there just like my mom who has a job and whose work is trying to make ends meet, who has to pay bills. I would just feel, I don't know.
I didn't know either, and especially when they came up with the story, or the other girl came up with the story that two other girls held the ninth point, and she went along.
That was just so late. I'd be more mad at my daughter for being stupid and coming up with the story. Honest to God, I would just look at her and say, geez, you couldn't just say, okay, you got me? Yeah. Have some dignity and go down with dignity.
I don't think I've ever seen her cry as much as she did that day.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. It makes me feel better, actually, because I got to think that something shook her into,
It shook her up.
I don't believe that she cried that much that day. And the reason why I believe that to be true is because she's in this courtroom getting her booty handed to her by Judge Melion here, and she is not batting an eye.
Jeez.
Believe me.
Show me this is the floor covering. Tell me what this is.
One of the estimates is for the paint and carpet. And then the other receipt is for all the carpet that I did replace. I replaced more than the damage.
Yeah, okay. And I'm taking into account, you have to understand something. Obviously, you are not going to get them. Court is about making you whole, not putting you in a better position than what you were in before the bad thing happened. So if you bought a house in a short sale where the carpets were hideous and full of stains, and now you could get the parents to pay for a new carpet, you would not be being made whole. You'd be like, whoa, bonanza! It'd be awesome, right? But that's not how it works. So you understand I have to do some adjustment.
That's
here.
why the one estimate's for just damages, and I was trying to be as fair as possible on.
What'd the other family pay?
They paid me $1,800.
Okay, step one is going to be that I'm going to give you 2 weeks to get the assignment from the bank.
Okay.
So did you try and you couldn't get it from him?
I actually I just had a baby, and I've been stressing to
Good for you.
get here.
All right.
So a lot of things, moving into a new house.
Gotcha. I am going to find both the defendant and her mother, based on California law that makes parents responsible as well, liable for $1,500. I am going to give you 2 weeks to come up with the assignment from the bank that gives you where they assign to you the right to sue, so that you don't all have to go through this again in court. And I strongly encourage you, mom to mom. I am the mother of 3 teenage daughters.
I'm the mother of 3. So I got a 20-year-old, a 16-year-old, and my 13-year-old.
All girls?
No, my other 2 are boys.
What are harder to raise, girls or boys?
Girls.
Right.
Boys are just so much easier. I don't make no sense.
I mean, it depends on the kid, obviously.
Girls
but
have all their attitude,
it's just
everything. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I remember when we found out my 3rd child was another girl, my husband was so happy. I'm like, I've done the math. There are going to be 3 teenagers and a woman in menopause in your house in about 15 years, and your life is not going to be as happy as you look right now.
Well, they're more expensive too, so yeah. I mean, I know how it is.
All right. Well, listen, Missy, you have caused your mama a lot of grief.
No,
and I know only one way for you to erase it, and that's figure out a way that you pay her back for this judgment. That means you get a job, you get a paper route, and the money all goes to mom. That's how you cleanse your soul. And that's what you'll fill out in the law school application, so that you don't look as just purely insensitive as you look right now, okay? I hope you learned a lesson. Good luck to you, and let me just say this. Did you have a girl or a boy?
A girl.
Well. As I said, good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, hold on, please. Well, let's see what the defendant has to say coming out of the courtroom here. How embarrassed are you right now?
Very.
So who do you owe an apology to?
Probably the plaintiff.
Well, go ahead. Apologize to him.
I'm sorry.
What about your mom?
Sorry.
So what have you learned?
Not to do anything like that again.
Okay, thanks. All right, right down this way. All right, so come on in here. You satisfied how this is working out?
I am satisfied. I think it's a fair judgment, and I just think she needs to learn a lesson,
Well, she just turned to you and apologized. Do you accept that?
Absolutely, yeah. I hope that my daughter and her can be friends, and maybe not real close friends, but at least be tolerable to each other, and she can accept her.
Judge gave you some homework. Get the
Yes.
assignment?
Yes.
You're on your way to do that.
Correct.
Over to Harvey.
So this was quite interesting of a case, because I don't believe that she was fully sorry. I think that when she gets put under pressure is when she starts to kind of give her, bat her eyes and be a little, innocent and give me sympathy. But when she went in there, she came with a story that she was being held at knife point, which is a complete lie, to splatter pink paint all over her house. But the thing that I'm trying to understand here, that I don't know if there was any sort of asking of this or if anyone figured this out, is how is it that these young girls who broke into this home come across pink paint? Now, I'm not trying to get upset at anyone, not trying to get anyone mad at me in the comments, but if you're choosing to get, pink paint like that and put it in your house, I'm sorry, but I think that's a big mistake, and you might attract some crazy stuff to your house and bad mojo, because I don't think that painting your home with that color paint is a good idea. So in reality, could you say that it would have all been avoided if there was no crazy pink paint in the house. Absolutely, it could have been avoided. But that doesn't say that these girls made a mistake, and they absolutely did. So I want to know what you guys think about this, because I feel like mom here was trying to dig herself out of a hole as she pretty much got faced with the fact that she has no control over her children. And I want to know what you guys think. Do you believe her to be fully, adequate for doing this parenting job, or do you think she is just letting her kids go wild and crazy and trying to, minimize the mistakes and the actions that they do? So leave your comments down below. I can't wait to look at them.